Well, South Africa's National Energy Crisis Committee says it expects record power outages to ease up. Well, there's some good news if it happens. This as measures include a new law to fast-track plant development taking effect. Well, yesterday, we heard from an IPP, it's an independent power producer, who said the removal of red tape will also be a relief, but infrastructure is still a massive challenge. And is that the case? Let's find out from energy analyst Roger Lilley joining us once again. Roger, always good to take time and speak to us so early in the morning. So we can have all the IPPs, we can be putting power back onto the grid, and that's why I was keen to talk to you. If we started doing that, no red tape, IPPs putting power back into the system, can the grid and the infrastructure actually keep up with that? Morning, Roger.
Good morning, Gareth. Thank you for inviting me to your show. Good morning to all your viewers. Look, the situation isn't a simple one. In one respect, we have about 40,000 megawatts of capacity in the grid, which means that the wired infrastructure can support that kind of load. And currently our load is below 30,000 megawatts. So in principle, we should have sufficient capacity to be able to add additional generation capacity. This is especially true since we've got so many power stations which are not giving us power. That's why we've got load shedding. So the problem really with the IPPs is that the power grid is not where they want it to be. In other words, where you're going to get the best solar and the best wind resources is not where the strongest power line structure exists. However, there's a solution to that. And the solution to that is what Eskom offered last year, when the rater said that IPPs could lease land from Eskom's power stations and connect to an existing connection on the grid where there's already some good string. So this is certainly one way where we could get additional power onto the grid relatively quickly.
How much power would that be, do you think, if it were to happen relatively quickly and we take away, even if in our own minds, all the issues to get it done? If it were to happen quickly, Roger, how much power would we be putting back in from IPPs, do you think?
Well, we should be able to get 3,000 or 4,000 megawatts of IPP power in addition to what we already have. But that means that those plants need to be built, and they need to be built quickly. They take 18 to 24 months to build typically and to connect, depending on a number of factors. One of those factors obviously is to find the correct space, the land area, and to cross all the T's and dot all the I's with regard to using that land to put up a solar or wind plant. If they can do this at a power station, many of those sort of concerns pass away very quickly, and so equipment should be able to be built relatively quickly, especially considering the fact that we have been offered many billions of rand to make this possible from the international community. So it's not really a financial matter. I think it's a matter of political will.
And there we are once again. It's the political issue which comes in again. And one of the other issues which is being touted around, Roger, as a political problem is, and I'm going to come back to this red tape here, and some are saying the unwillingness of those IPPs, even smaller private solar systems, being able to put power back onto the grid. Apparently, it's not only difficult to get that done, people are very willing to do it. We're not all using the solar that we have. But then there was even talk of being penalized because you are using solar and not living off the grid. It's still very mucky, isn't it?
Yes, and one can understand the logic behind that decision, because if you consider the fact that the infrastructure has to be in place whether we use it or we don't, then obviously somebody has to pay for that. So the issue is really who pays for the infrastructure when you and I go off the grid and consume power that we generate ourselves, because we want to be connected to the grid just in case we have a problem with our own system and we need to switch back to the grid for one reason or another. That grid needs to be in place, and somebody has to pay for that. It reminds me of the old system with Telkom and the telephone system, the wired telephone system, where one paid for the line charge as well as the call charges. And I think something like that might be coming in the future.
It also does make me think as well, because you brought in the word line charges here as well. Roger, I know I'm going slightly off topic here, but many people look to you as one of the experts that can maybe explain this. So forgive me if I catch you off guard. On the line charges, there's still so many people angry, especially with the loads, with the stage 6 load shedding, that some areas were getting up to 12 hours a day without electricity, but they were still getting billed the same, if not more. And I've had the city of Joburg on before about this, and they were explaining it's got to do with the fact that what you're really paying for is the possibility of electrical transmission into your house, not just what you're using. And I think that's what upsets so many people. Am I on the right track here?
Well, if that's what the city of Johannesburg have told you, then I have no reason to doubt it. Personally, I don't buy electricity from a municipality. I have electricity from Eskom directly on a prepaid arrangement, and I only pay for the flat rate, per kilowatt hour that I consume. So if I don't consume any electricity, I don't pay anything.
Okay.
But yeah, so it's difficult to tell how the municipalities are doing this.
No, it's actually a brilliant answer. I think for those people who might not have known the difference, getting your power from a municipality versus, as you said, Roger, even for yourself, you're getting it directly from Eskom. There is a different way. Once again, though, I'm going to end off by asking this question. If we as a country, if the government, as the ruling party as well, were to get all the money in the world, because you spoke about political will earlier, all the money in the world, imagine Elon Musk writes us a blank check and says, all right, you guys fix your electrical issues. How quickly could we get rid of load shedding in our country? Perfect world, perfect scenario. What's your timeline?
I would like to say less than a year, but I don't think we could do it in less than 2 years, to be truthful.
Why is that? Just too much to do?
There is too much to do. It's more than just fixing broken equipment. There's all sorts of underlying issues which have to be addressed. We've got to get rid of what is known as the energy mafia. We've got to get rid of the sabotage that goes on. We've got to get rid of all of that, over and above any technical generation. So if in a perfect world, fine, we switch Eskom off completely, we isolate Eskom completely, and we have a brand new Eskom, a brand new independent power station that runs the whole country for us. Well, you can imagine how long that would take. So obviously what we have to do is we have to repair what we've got, but at the same time, it's really important that we get to the root of these other problems which are plaguing the utility in terms of making things repairable and then lasting, because they seem to, as we've read, we've heard so many stories of sabotage of various types going on inside the power stations by the very ones who are supposed to be repairing the equipment. If we don't get rid of that, we're never going to get ahead.